Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Saiz. Boy, Elijah Hard coming to you with another episode of Get Con, where we try to con you into some change.
Not out of some change.
Hey, how's everybody out there doing, man? Me and bro in here kind of, we've been thinking all morning. This month is suicide awareness. So, that kind of had us thinking about some of the people we lost in our lives, some of the people, we've come across in here, people that meant something to us that have, we've lost through suicide. So we figured, we're going to come together and, do an episode about that. I know it's a hard subject for a lot of people, and it's a subject a lot of people want to ignore, but, that's part of what we do. We touch on the real stuff. We touch on the real topics. We touch on the things that actually need to be heard and, the light needs to be shined on. So, we figured we'd come here today and speak a little bit about it, share a little bit of the stories of the people we love, our own stories too with suicide. And you want to talk a little bit about yours, bro?
Yeah, I talk a little bit about my experiences. You know what I mean? I've seen suicide attempts since I was young. A lot of family members, they went through it. Like my mom, she's been through it. It's only when she was drinking and whatnot. You know what I mean? I come from a single parent home. Five of us, five brothers. Growing up, my mom was trying to take on the responsibility of being a dad too. You know what I mean? So see my mom go through it, open up my eyes to see what it really was. Like at the time, I didn't know what it was. There's a lot of cutting, there was a lot of hurt, there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of drinking going on. A couple of my aunties, my uncles, they would try to help us escape from the situation that we was in. But my mom was a tough woman. You know what I mean? Like she wouldn't let go of her kids so easily. So you know what I mean? We were stuck in that situation. And at the time, it was just seemed like it was something so natural. It was something so, we were so used to seeing it that it became a norm in our household. And it became a norm not to speak out about it. We couldn't speak about it, you know what I mean, because nobody says anything about what's going on in the household. You know what I mean? That was one of the rules. So, growing up, seeing it, and then finally, fast forward, through my childhood, my adolescence, I tried it. I tried cutting my arms, see what it was about, seeing, getting rid of some of that pain, letting some of that pain out, going through the things that I went through, you know what I mean, like the tragedies that I've been through, the trauma that I've been through at an early age, some of the things that messed me up, mentally, I held on to, suppressed, whatnot, and as I got older, where I was able to stay out, hours of the night, whatnot, you know what I mean? Because my mom was boozing it, whatnot. She didn't really care where we were, is when I actually took that first step. I actually took that first step and tried to commit. Like, actually went through the act of committing suicide. And, I'm just happy that my brothers were there, my little brother, I'm glad that he was there, you know what I mean, to prevent things that happen. You know what I mean? Otherwise I wouldn't be here today. But as I got older, coming to prison, holding on to those things, I came to prison at 19, and I was only here for a year, not even a year, when my brother Jesse, he committed suicide, hung himself. They didn't find him until the next day and whatnot, but to see that happen, messed me up in here, just being a youngster too. And then a year later, my brother getting out, my other brother Byron Dumars getting out, he hung himself, being a few months out of prison after doing 10 years here, so after seeing all that, it made me think that, that was the thing to do. Like, why are they doing this? You know what I mean? My uncle Daryl too. My uncle Daryl from there, he passed away. Rest in peace, 2004. He hung himself. When I got out, I attempted. I got like 100 cuts on my arms. You know what I mean? Trying to do it, trying to escape the pain. But all of that happened because I was so afraid to reach out and tell people that this is what I'm going through. I'm afraid what people will think about me. I'm afraid of how people will look at me. You know what I mean? So that was one of the things that kept me isolated from everybody. You know what I mean? I didn't think anybody would like me, but as I got here, got introduced to bro here, we started talking about our little situations and, the things that we went through, and I see what they are now, you know what I mean? So sitting here telling my little story, lets me also forgive myself for the things that I did. You know what I mean? It's making me feel better right now. You know what I mean? And suicide, awareness month. I just want to let my brothers and them know that, it's okay to talk about what you've been through. It's okay to talk about, what you've seen and whatnot. You know what I mean? And it's gonna help that. It's gonna help our next family member. It's gonna help your friend. It's gonna help a stranger even on the street. So that is just a little bit about my story. I don't want to take up too much of this time.
Yeah, no, that's good that you're sharing, bro. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of us, like you said, are going through our own personal problems. A lot of people are going through a lot of things in life that they don't talk about. They don't want to share, and that's the thing. That we focus on in here is the trauma that we've all dealt with, and trauma causes separation. And it's in that separation when people feel alone and they feel isolated. That's when people are killing themselves. You know what I mean? Because they feel alone. They feel like they have no value. They have no purpose in life. They have no worth. Well, that's how I felt. I went through mine over the years. I tried to kill myself a couple times. You know what I mean? Mostly in the beginning of my prison sentence. I was 16 when I came in. I was a kid. You know what I mean? And I just at that time, my brothers were too little to be in touch with me because they were still kids. My mom was going through her alcoholism and drug abuse, so she was in her own world. Like a lot of you guys know, you know what I mean, when you're going through all that, you really don't care about other people, or you're just focused on getting your next hit, getting high, you know what I mean? So they were going through all that, you know what I mean? I felt alone in the world, so got me to the point where I started feeling like, what's the point? What's the point of me being here, you know what I mean? Nobody cares, you know what I mean? Life is just living. You're just going day by day. You're just existing, you know what I mean? You're not really living anything, so I cut my wrist a few times. That didn't work. Try to hang myself. That didn't work. A couple other times, tried a couple other different things. For some reason or another, it didn't work. And at the time, it was just like, dang, I'm not even good at that. I can't even, that was another thing. I can't even kill myself right. But as life went on and I've grown up and I've, matured, I look at it like God has a better purpose for me. I wasn't meant to just die like that. So I try to see the purpose in it and the meaning behind, okay, I'm still here for a reason. Because it's crazy when you really look at, some of these statistics. It's crazy, bro. Some of the stuff that we was able to look up, they say suicide is the second leading cause of death between Hispanics and natives. Of all the things that's killing our people, all the things that are killing us, suicide is second leading. That's crazy to me, you know what I mean, bro? They say, what was it, 11 minutes, or what was it?
Every 11 minutes. There's a committee there, there's a suicide that happens, not just on the reservations, but around the world, around the United States of America. So try to wrap your head around that for a second, that's crazy to think about, And we don't know what the number one leading cause is, but because we didn't get that far, but to think about that though is wild.
I say, all right. So then it says 12.8 million people have seriously thought about it. 3.7 million have made a plan for it, and 1.5 have actually attempted it. So those just sound like numbers, but when you really start to think about it, that's a lot of people going through that trauma. That's a lot of people going through that, and it trips me out because we're in here and we're in this really dark negative space, so it happens a lot. But the things people are out in the free world going through the same thing. They got all these options. In my mind, that's how I see. You got the whole world in front of you. You got all these doors that are wide open. But people are still going through their issues. People are still going through the depression and mental issues and all these things that are making them feel like they need to take their life. And I think as us, as a community, as a people, as relatives, we need to come together and take that time because a lot of us are living so fast, so focused on our own lives and our own, select group of people that we mess with that we don't really pay attention to the next person and see, hey, this guy's going through something or this girl's going through something. And, if you see somebody that's got a sad face on, or they're normally happy, and all of a sudden they're depressed, or they're withdrawn into their own little world. Take a second and talk to them. Take a second and just reach out and see how they're doing, because that might be the life-changing thing that they need. They might just need a vent. They just might need somebody to talk to. And I know it's hard like that because, like I say, we're all going through our own little lives and our own little daily adventure that we forget to check on the next person. And that's kind of important. You know what I mean, bro?
Yes, sir. It's important as well as this little community that bro touched on here in the South Dakota State Penitentiary. We see brothers every day, heads down, head low. Don't know what they're really going through. But me and bro, man, ever since that we had this vision of starting this Rebuild and Rise project that we got going on, a nonprofit. We're reaching out to them because we see and we've been seeing for too long. You know, brothers going through it, nobody there. You know what I mean? The things that schools or whatever it is that the education part of it here, they ain't doing it. They ain't reaching out. They ain't on the front line seeing this stuff. You know what I mean? So rest in peace to the people that did. You know, we did lose in here. You know what I mean? To hopelessness, suicide, whatnot. You know, so
Yeah. Speaking of that, bro, that's something I wanted to touch on because like there's some people in my life that what I mean, I just want to remember and I want to make sure that their stories are told and their memories carry on. And I'm gonna read a couple names. People back home, they know these names well, man. And I wish they knew them for a different reason, but you know what I mean. So rest in peace to little Vincent Valdez, Yamilex Garcia, Neto Padilla, and Tomas Padilla. Those are people in my life that I lost to suicide. And also, little Manny Torres, little Manuel Torres. He was a brother that was in here, lost him. I still play that day in my head on our way to Chow, and he like turned back around. I didn't even know he was going through all that stuff. Like it didn't really show. What I mean? He was just, I don't know. I don't know what was. A lot of stuff was going on. I guess that in his personal life that he wasn't sharing with people. But we were heading to Chow, and he was like, "Hold on, I gotta go back and get my ID." Didn't think nothing of it. Just a regular day. So he went back and hung himself by 2-3 minutes later. By the time we got done eating breakfast, he had already passed away. So yeah, that was a tough one, man. And little Vincent. That's crazy. They're just kids. These are just kids. Lex is just kids. Vincent, they're just kids. Barely going through puberty, barely going through life like that. For them to get to that point where they feel like they had to take their lives for whatever reasons. There's a lot of that goes on with social media that we don't pay attention to, too. Like, people are getting bullied. People are going through reality different than how we grew up. We didn't have internet, so we didn't really have bullying like that. Bullying was just like, hey, the kid at school picking on you, that's what you're going through. You go get your brother, come fight for you or whatever, you know what I mean? But now it's different. Now you got people online, and you got 30, 40 people that are jumping on board, not realizing there's consequences to it, and they're picking on this little kid, and, she goes back home because, they push her to that limit, kill yourself. And that's a real thing out there. That's one thing that, kids are dealing with, and that's something else, too, as adults, as parents that didn't grow up in that internet generation. We got to start educating ourselves along those lines so we can pay attention to the signs that's happening on social media.
yes, sir. And just something for the youth too. Youth, whatever it is that you're going through, what I mean. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up and tell a parent, tell your brother, tell your sister, tell an auntie, tell a friend, tell a teacher, whatever it may be. What I mean. Speak up because nobody really knows what you're going through. What I mean. Until you actually use your voice. Don't be afraid to use your voice. What I mean. I can't stress that enough, what I mean? I got, Richard and Cheyenne out there, what I mean? Son and daughter. My son was real quiet growing up, what I mean? So I didn't really know what was going on in his head, what I mean? But he was holding in a lot, what I mean? Same as Cheyenne, what I mean? So I can't stress that enough, what I mean? Don't be afraid to use your voice. Don't be afraid to think that nobody's listening to you. Don't be afraid to, be that friend, a real friend. When something like this is told to you, speak up. That's what a real friend's gonna do. A real friend ain't gonna keep that secret if someone's trying to hurt themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it takes courage. It takes courage to do that because it's a scary thing. You don't want to be judged or you don't want people to look at you a certain way. But you just gotta take that step and reach out. What I mean? We're all hurting, and we gotta find ways to heal. And I feel like as a community, that's something we all need to start doing together. We all got to start reaching out, helping each other. And speaking on that, I just want to encourage people out there, if you want to share your family story or people that you've lost to suicide, you want to share that with us, hey, we're more than glad to put that on our social media, put that on our pages, keep their memory alive, Also, we're doing a special edition for, suicide awareness in our Unlock the magazine. So if you want to share photos, tell their story, anything like that, we're always more than happy to help with stuff like that. Or you just need prayer, what I mean? We're here for that too, because we all need to have that higher power that we believe in and help us get through it, whatever that might be. Some people believe in Muslim, some people believe in Christianity, native ways, whatever it is. But whatever helps you get through it, whatever helps you breathe healing to your life, we encourage that. But yeah, like I said, man, we appreciate the people that do share. The people, you know what I mean, that have reached out to us and help us to heal in our own ways too. Just by you guys being a part of our lives and you guys encouraging what we're doing and the ways that we're trying to help, you know what I mean, that helps us to heal because it helps giving us purpose. Like bro was saying in here, you know, it's different now. The way I do time is different. Like I used to do my time a certain way. That's how I got through my day. But now since like we've opened up these doors to wanting to help other people and help our community, like we can't turn back now. Now it's just an everyday thing. Like we'll see some guy sitting by himself. Like just the other day, bro, seen somebody in the sweat lodge. Nobody really talks to him. So now on his own, he goes out of his way to go, hey, what's up, you all right? How you doing? You know, he went and talked to him last night. Just, you know what I mean? And that's something you can't, once you turn that on, it's hard to turn it off. Once you have that compassion for other people, but compassion is what's going to heal that trauma. And that's something that our whole life has become about now.
Hey, speaking about compassion, I know a lot of people out there. I know a lot of people have that compassion out there for other people, and like brother said, the courage to take that first step forward. You know what I mean? Because you're gonna be that brother. You're gonna be that brother or that sister's light that helped them come out of the darkness. You know what I mean? So I can't stress it enough. Be there for each other. We're in some crazy times right now. We're in a crazy world. These are these crazy little things. You know what I mean? So be there for each other, stand with each other, be each other's witnesses and everything that's happening out there, encourage people to jump into that circle out there, that arena. You guys know what I'm talking about, the powwow arena. Don't be afraid to get out there and dance, you know what I mean? Be proud of who you are, be proud of your culture, be proud of where you came from, all that. So.
Yeah, I want to say too before we head out, because we only got a couple more minutes, but times are changing, seasons are changing. It's starting to get a little cold out there. Pretty soon winter's going to be here. So I want you guys to remember the people that are out there that are going through it, people that are homeless, people that don't have shelter, a lot of people are going through that mental illness, that depression, which causes suicide too. A lot of, the rates of the homeless community that are committing suicide is high. And, us as a people, this little bit that we can do to help, some of us are in a better position to help, you know what I mean? But whatever you can do, whether it's just going by and, give them a pair of gloves.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Whatever it is, man, I don't like to forget the homeless community because we're all humans at the end of the day. We're all relatives at the end of the day, man. And I noticed like that being in here, you see at wintertime, the populations, we get pretty deep in here because people are out there going through it. They don't have no shelter. They don't have food, so it's easier just to catch a small case, come in here. You got free room and board. You got, what I mean? It's a win for them in their eyes. So I just want to, encourage everybody out there to remember the homeless, remember the people that are out there going through it, that are in worse positions. But we're getting ready to head out of here, man. We just wanted to, touch on this subject. It's a hard subject, but it's an important subject. It's something that needs to be spoken about, something that needs to be, people need to be aware of and not just something pushed into the dark. And that's what we're all about here, man, at Rebuild and Rise. We're trying to help each other, heal that community, and we'll talk about the real stuff.